All right, let's get started with the first question. Claire rolls a six-sided die 16 times. The score obtained are shown in the following frequency table. It is given that the main score is 3. Find the value of P and the value of Q. That is the first question, problem A. Problem 1, question, question A, I guess. So, the first thing to note here is that you're given a few important things to play with. First, we are told that Claire rolled the die 16 times. What does this mean? What does this mean in our frequency table, which is also an important thing that they gave us? They gave us a frequency table, they gave us a main score, and they gave us the number of times that has been tossed or rolled. Now, if you look at the frequency table, I notice that the score are 1, 2, 3, going all the way into 6, just like the six-sided die. So that means that the frequency should be the number of times that I actually got the score of 1. That when I roll the die, I got 1 appearing P times. When I roll the dice again, Q times, I got 2. And then when I rolled it 4 times, I got 3, and then so on and so on and so forth. So when I roll the die again and again and again, up until 16, aka the sum of all of those data should give me 16, I ended up getting all of those data here. So I ended up having those things. I'm going to erase all of this. So the first thing that I note is that there is a relationship between the number of times I roll the die here and the frequency. So the frequency, when I add all of the frequencies of my outputs, this should give me 16. Okay. Now, I found the relationship between the frequency table and the number of times I roll the die. But here's the other thing which is very important. Because we are asked to find 2 different variables, I cannot limit myself to only one equation. That is, the first equation is just P plus Q plus 4 plus 2 plus 0 plus 3 is equal to 16. That is the first equation that links P and Q together. And that will give me, if I have to do the whole calculation, that will give me P plus Q, 2 plus 4 plus 2, sorry, give me 6, and then 6 plus 3 gives me 9, is equal to 16 here, and then I can just bring the 9 on the other side, aka subtract 9, so that I isolate P and Q. So now with P plus Q is equal to 16 minus 9, which gives me 7. I just realized that that marker is actually bad. The color is really bad. So I'm going to change that to black. Okay. The second thing is, just as I said, we are given 2 variables. So we need 2 different equations. What is the other equation that I can be using here to solve for P and Q? Well, I know that when I multiply the number of times, I multiply my score times their frequency, times the respective frequencies, that should give me the total number of times, the total result that I get. But then the mean, just as we know, the mean is actually the average. The average of what? The average of the scores that I got. So after I roll P times, I got 1. After I roll Q times, I got 2. And then when I roll the dice again, maybe 4 times, what appeared was 3. So what I can do here is to find the second equation, which would be just multiplying all of those, the scores and the frequencies. And because I'm trying to find the average, I need to divide it by the total number of times that I actually roll the die. So that will be P plus 2Q plus 3 times 4. I'm going to put them in parentheses. Times 4 times 2 plus 4 times 2, sorry. Plus 5 times 0, it's going to be 0, so I'm just going to ignore that. And then I'm going to do 6 times 3, which gives me 18. But I'm just going to put it here. And this whole thing divided by 16 should give me the mean of 3. Then let's compute that. 4 times 3 give me 6, give me 12. 4 times 2 gives me 8. And then 6 times 3, as we said, gives me 18. This is all equal to 3, of course, divided by 16. Now, we can continue and add all of those together. So I have 12 plus 8 gives me 20. 20 plus 18 gives me 38. So I have P plus 2Q plus 38 divided by 16 is equal to 3. And I want to, once again, isolate P and Q because those are the ones that I actually am trying to find here. So I will multiply both sides by 16. So I end up with P plus 2Q is plus 38 is equal to 3 times 16. And there's a simple way I can do it is, first of all, note that I can do 2 times 16, which gives me 32, and then I can just add that to 116 at the end, which gives me 48. So I have P plus 2Q plus 38 is equal to 48. Isolating P and Q, I can subtract both sides by 38, and that gives me 10, because 48 minus 38 gives me 10. Fine. Now I have two formulas, two beautiful formulas that link P and Q. The first one, I'm going to come down here, is P plus Q is equal to 7. So I'm going to call it equation 1. And then the second one is P plus 2Q is equal to 10. Now, I can go ahead and try to do a substitution, whereby I'm going to try to solve Q or P using the other one. So I can solve P using Q and Q using P. Doesn't really matter. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be solving for P, right? I'm going to be doing P is equal to 7 minus Q. And because I know that from here, this is my third equation, I know I can substitute this down here, process of substitution. So I would have P, which I know is now 7 minus Q plus 2Q is equal to 10, right? And I can solve for Q, which is going to be negative Q plus 2Q, which gives me Q. So I end up with 7 plus Q is equal to 10. And then I can isolate Q, so for Q essentially, as Professor said. So that gives me Q is equal to 10 minus 3, which tells me that Q is equal to 3. And that is our first answer. I'm going to just do this. Now, we want to find P. And we know from the third equation that we derived that P is just equal to 7 minus Q. So it's kind of like we're going in circle. We're going back and forth between all of those equations because all of them are linked. And for those of you who are doing linear algebra, you will be able to figure this out, the relationship between all of them and how they're important when we create a matrix. So then we know that P is equal to 7 minus 3, which tells me that P is equal to 4. So for question A, we have P is equal to 4, and then Q is equal to 3. For question B, let's read what happened. Each of Claire's score is multiplied by 10 in order to determine the final score for a game she is playing. Write down the mean of the final score. So one way to do it is multiply all of those scores by 10. So we can do that. We can multiply all of those scores by 10 and then divide and multiply them by the frequency, because the frequency has not changed. There was nowhere that said that the frequency changed, and then divide that by the total frequency. We can go ahead and do it, and in this case, we will still get our original 38 here, if you remember. Actually, no, we will get 38, but multiplied by 10. Remember, because we're scaling all of those scores by 10. So we get something like P, which is now 4. So we do 4 times 10, because P was the score was 10, and now the score is going to be 10 because we multiply by 10. Same thing goes for Q, which is going to be 20. So it's going to be 4 times 10 plus 20 times 3 plus 380 divided by 16. So that would be 40 plus 60 plus 380 divided by 16. So that would be 480 divided by 16. And what you'll notice is that if I do 48 divided by 16, which is the same as doing, which is something that I've done here, which was 48, 6, which gave me 3, right? Because 3 times 16 gave me 48. So I know that my answer is going to be 30. I just went the long way to explain how you could do it after you found the answers for P and Q. But you could also have just thought about it in terms of just scaling. We have our original mean. The frequency is still the same, so nothing has changed on the frequency, but the scores have been scaled up to 10. And since we're just multiplying the scores times the frequency and dividing it by the total frequency, this would just give me a scaled up mean. So aka, it was just 3 times 10. This still gives me 30. And that is how you can solve this. So, first step, read the question properly and try to figure out what you need, what you're being asked. Here I'm being asked to find P and Q, so I focus on those variables. And second, I need to figure out how to approach the problem using what I have. What do I have? I need to literally list them. That's why I always put all of those marks down here. I have 16 times. What does this 16 mean? It tells me the total number of frequency. So all of those frequencies added up together gives me 16. And how do I know it? Because I'm given a frequency table. So we need to know the property of a frequency table. The other thing is, okay, because I have P and Q, which are two variables that are missing, I should intuitively know that because I have two missing variables, I need two different equations to solve them. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I have my first equation, and I need to find the second one. And that's how I did here. I have P plus Q, and then I have P plus Q plus 4 plus 2 plus 0 plus 3, total number of frequency, and now the relationship, and then I'm going to be using this 3 here, which was my mean, and I found the relationship to be that score times frequency, added all of them together, divided by the total frequency, should give me the mean. And from there, I have two equations that relate P and Q, and then I can solve for P and Q. And then for the rest, it's just a scaling factor of 10 on the mean. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you guys who spend the time to follow me through this one. Well, that's it for today. If you like the video, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the like icon. The bell icon button so you never miss any updates, because I will be updating more and more videos like this. Thank you so much. Have a nice rest of your day.